Welcome, and thank you for joining us here today. My name is Bruce Mungall, and I'm the Vaccines Medical Director for GSK in Korea. GSK is closely monitoring the COVID-19 pandemic and is supporting global efforts to tackle the virus. We've always been a very patient-focused organization, and that remains at the heart of all we do. Our own people have also been amazing, and they have been stepping up on a daily basis to do everything they can to help in countless ways across the organization. As a massive company, business still goes on, and business continuity plans have been essential to guide us through these unprecedented conditions. But what I want to talk about today are solutions. Since the outbreak, we have been actively exploring ways to help with our science and expertise, alongside protecting the health and well-being of our people and managing our global supply chains to support patients and consumers who depend on our products. It's abundantly clear now that we're all in this together, and partnerships are the best way to achieve great things. Importantly, though, this is a truly global pandemic, and so we need a global approach to address it. This global approach includes making any vaccines or treatments accessible to as many people as possible. GSK has always been committed to ensuring access to those in need, and this situation absolutely reinforces our belief that this is the right thing to do. And importantly, pandemic preparedness is no longer a future strategy. It's a way of life right here, right now. We are collaborating with companies and research groups across the world working on promising COVID-19 vaccine candidates through the use of our innovative vaccine adjuvant technology. The use of an adjuvant is of particular importance in a pandemic situation, since it may reduce the amount of vaccine protein required per dose, allowing more vaccine doses to be produced and therefore contributing to protecting more people. So what are adjuvants and why are they useful for vaccines? When we look at the design of the vaccines available today, we see that most of them are composed of an antigen and an adjuvant. The antigen defines the specificity of the immune response. The adjuvant, defined as being a substance used to enhance the immune system's response to antigens, amplifies and guides the immune response triggered by the antigen. The most widely used adjuvants are aluminium salts like aluminium hydroxide and aluminium phosphate, and these have been in use for almost 100 years. Compared with the non-adjuvanted formulation, the expected advantages of vaccines formulated with adjuvants are an earlier immune response, a stronger or broader immune response, and a more sustained or longer-term immune response. Now, these effects do not necessarily appear altogether. It depends on the vaccine formulation, which is the antigen and the adjuvant combination together, and the specific target population. Because they contain combinations of adjuvants which target different parts of the host pathogen interaction, adjuvant systems can enhance some or all of the arms of the adaptive immune response at the same time. Now, an example of this is the AS03 adjuvanted pandemic influenza vaccine. The adjuvant system, or AS concept, is based on defining the right combination of two or more types of adjuvants to leverage their effects in order to enhance and guide the immune response to vaccine antigens. GSK Biologicals R&D scientists have dedicated almost 60 years to vaccine design and development, including over 20 years researching, characterizing, and testing new adjuvants and analyzing their ability to enhance the protective effects of purified antigens. Now, this extensive research on antigens and adjuvant systems has established that one size does not fit all. By studying different combinations, the GSK Biologicals adjuvant system families have been developed with 3 adjuvant systems in either late-stage development or available as licensed products. These are AS01, AS03, and AS04. Now, just coming up, I've got a very short video so you can understand how AS03 works with our adjuvanted pandemic influenza vaccine.
The immune response to vaccination involves multiple cellular interactions and occurs over several physical locations. The influenza vaccine antigen and AS03 need to be co-localized at the site of injection to exert their combined effects on monocytes and macrophages. AS03 plus antigen induces a transiently enhanced recruitment of innate immune cells to the site of injection, and higher antigen uptake by antigen-presenting cells. AS03 plus antigen induces higher numbers of monocytes to mature into antigen-presenting cells and migrate to the local draining lymph node. At the local draining lymph node, high numbers of innate immune cells and antigen-presenting cells are present. Antigen-presenting cells activate antigen-specific T cells capable of activating naive B cells. ASO3 plus antigen induces the production of large numbers of plasma cells and memory B cells, higher than the numbers seen with unadjuvanted vaccines containing the same antigen. Plasma cells secrete high levels of antibodies into the bloodstream, which are distributed systemically. Higher levels of neutralizing antibodies against H5N1 clade 1 were detected in humans vaccinated with ASO3 adjuvanted vaccines compared with those who received unadjuvanted vaccines containing the same antigen. Antibodies induced by ASO3 plus antigen travel to the site of infection at the respiratory epithelium and are able to neutralize the influenza virus, preventing infection. The ASO3 adjuvanted pandemic influenza vaccine demonstrates how the appropriate combination of antigen and adjuvant system can enhance the adaptive immune response.
So, which vaccine antigens can benefit from adjuvants? As vaccine development has moved away from whole inactivated pathogens and towards purified antigens and recombinant proteins, immunogenicity has unfortunately decreased. Adding adjuvants to a vaccine helps to reverse this reduced immunogenicity that's seen with purified antigens, enhancing immunogenicity with as little impact as possible on tolerability. Adjuvants have a number of potential benefits for vaccine development. They can increase the breadth and durability of the response achievable using purified subunit antigens, and they can help to overcome limited immunogenicity of subunit vaccines by improving pathogen recognition and eliciting a response similar to the natural innate immune response. This enhanced immune response has several practical implications. It can be reductions in the quantity of antigen contained in individual vaccine doses, and the improved quality of the immune response may mean that fewer vaccine doses are required to actually achieve immunity. The combined features of dose reduction and antigen sparing can have important implications for improving global vaccine supply. Adjuvants can also improve immune responses in specific populations where responses to vaccines are typically reduced, such as infants, older adults, and the immunocompromised. These latter 2 points are particularly relevant for a potential coronavirus vaccine, where we know the elderly are more vulnerable, and producing enough doses to manage global demand poses an enormous challenge. Now, we announced on 14th of April that GSK has joined forces with Sanofi, bringing together 2 of the world's largest vaccine companies in an unprecedented collaboration to fight COVID-19. The 2 companies will combine innovative technologies to develop an adjuvanted COVID-19 vaccine, which is expected to enter clinical trials in the second half of 2020, and if successful and subject to regulatory considerations, aim to complete the development required for availability by the second half of 2021. Now, this would be a significantly faster timeline than for normal vaccine development, and teams from both companies are starting work on this urgently. One of the important parts of this collaboration is our combined scale. Both companies bring significant manufacturing capacity, and whilst we have a lot of work to do, given this is at an early stage of development, we believe that if successful, we will be able to make hundreds of millions of doses annually by the end of next year. Both GSK and Sanofi have a long history of making our vaccines available to people all around the world, and we're committed to making any vaccine that's developed through this collaboration affordable and through mechanisms that offer fair access for all people. In addition to Sanofi, we are also collaborating with the University of Queensland, Clover Biopharmaceuticals, and Xiamen Innovax Biotech. These organizations all have promising preclinical candidate vaccine antigens, and we've committed to providing ASO3 adjuvant for testing. We believe that more than one vaccine will be needed, and we're hoping that there will be a number of successful vaccines developed with our pandemic adjuvant technology. Over the next few months, we expect to see data from many of these collaborations. Now, overall, GSK does not expect to profit from our portfolio of collaborations for COVID-19 vaccines during this pandemic. Any short-term profit generated will be invested in support of coronavirus-related research and long-term pandemic preparedness, either through GSK's internal investments or with external partners. GSK developed this approach with the aim of recognizing the unprecedented scale of COVID-19, the huge impact it's having on people and healthcare systems, and the need to reinvigorate the world's attention to long-term pandemic preparedness. The approach is blended around three commitments. First, GSK will supply our AS03 adjuvant to governments and institutions at a responsible price, either as standalone or as part of an adjuvanted vaccine. Our price is calculated using various inputs, including benchmarks to previous H1N1 vaccine contracts and our cost for production and development. Second, we want to make our adjuvant available to all countries, including the world's poorest nations. To help support low-income countries, GSK will offer donations, again, either as a standalone or as part of an adjuvanted vaccine, to global institutions who can help determine the need and help with delivery on the ground. And thirdly, short-term profits made on sales of our AS03 adjuvant will be invested to support long-term global pandemic preparedness. The world's learning from this pandemic, and GSK wants to positively contribute to the ideas and actions that will arise once this crisis passes. Now, GSK believes there are many areas that should be looked at to help improve future pandemic preparedness, whether that be support for new technology platforms that support rapid scale-up, R&D into new pathogens, testing and diagnostics, or increasing vaccine manufacturing capacity. Some of these are areas in which we can directly contribute through investing in our own capabilities and infrastructure. Other areas require different expertise. We will make investments inside and outside of GSK to support long-term pandemic preparedness. Overall, taking all these commitments together, this means that GSK does not expect to profit from its portfolio of COVID-19 vaccine collaborations during the pandemic. In addition to vaccines, we are also supporting screening and research into potential medicines for COVID-19. We've announced a collaboration with VIR Biotechnology to use VIR's monoclonal antibody platform technology to accelerate existing and identify new antiviral antibodies that could be used as therapeutics or preventative options for COVID-19. Subject to regulatory review, the companies plan to proceed directly into a phase 2 clinical trial within the next 3 to 5 months. And GSK is also a member of the collaborative research effort, the COVID-19 Therapeutics Accelerator. The aim of the accelerator is to bring pharmaceutical companies and academic expert institutions into coordinated research programs with the aim of bringing the most promising molecules forward that could be used to treat cases of COVID-19. GSK will contribute by making available compounds from its libraries for screening for activity against COVID-19. In addition, GSK is evaluating its marketed pharmaceutical products and medicines in development to determine if any could be used beyond their current indications in response to the pandemic. This includes medicines with potential direct antiviral activity and those with possible utility in preventing or treatment of secondary complications of COVID-19. We are also helping frontline health workers and offering our expertise. GSK is donating $10 million to the COVID-19 Solidarity Response Fund, created by the UN Foundation and WHO, to support WHO and partners to prevent, detect, and manage the pandemic, particularly where the needs are the greatest. Amongst its objectives, the fund will enable distribution of essential supplies, such as personal protective equipment, to frontline health workers. GSK is also donating surplus reagents to support diagnostic testing to several countries, and is preparing to do the same for surplus PPE. We've also initiated a new volunteering processes for our people working at the company to enable those with medical expertise to provide support to frontline health workers, whilst at the same time ensuring we protect supply and development of our medicines and vaccines. Initiatives have also been started to use Salesforce personnel to help with delivery of PPE and testing equipment, and for specialists such as procurement leaders to work with national governments on developing supply chains. We're also taking action to deliver high-demand consumer healthcare products. GSK Consumer Healthcare is prioritizing actions in its supply chain to deliver more products that are in high demand due to COVID-19. This includes increasing production for pain relief brands such as Panadol and multivitamins and dietary supplements such as Emergen-C and Centrum. And finally, we're also supporting UK national efforts to boost COVID-19 testing. As part of the UK government's announcement of a new 5-pillar plan to boost testing for COVID-19, GSK, AstraZeneca and the University of Cambridge have formed a joint collaboration to take action to support this national effort. A new testing laboratory will be set up at the University of Cambridge's N. McLaren Laboratory, and this facility will be used for high throughput screening for COVID-19 testing and to explore the use of alternative chemical reagents for test kits in order to help overcome current supply shortages. Alongside this, GSK and AstraZeneca are working together to provide process optimization support to the UK national testing centres. So thank you for joining us today, and thank you for your interest in GSK and our efforts to assist with the global efforts during the COVID-19 pandemic. Thank you.